sophomore at University of Maryland, and Annie is a graduate at Georgetown University. So do you guys want to, Annie, first talk about your values, your college experience, and the mission process for you?
Yeah, sure. So I think my two takeaways from going through the college experience is that I think sometimes you think too highly, you want to get into that school and that's all you see, but at the same time you have to feel like you're showing them that you're a complement to that school. What Tom was saying about every school having a certain flavor, I don't think I realized that when I was going through the admissions process, but then when I got into Georgetown, I realized that I actually was the right fit. I only really wanted to go there because it was in this area. So I feel like my value that I leveraged was my serious, actually sincere passions for what I was doing. So what I was doing at the time was I was doing a lot of public service work, giving back to Darfur. I don't know if you guys know about the Sudanese conflict. And that was something that paired very well with Georgetown. So I would say that it doesn't have to be what someone else is doing, but it has to be something that you really care about because that really shines through to your essay.
My bad, my story. I'm just curious, for those of the students that are still out there, how many of you guys are freshmen or sophomore? 2? 3. All right, how many are juniors and seniors? Wow, all right, I see. So, well, I have a really special case. How many of you guys know the expected minimum GPA for University of Maryland College Park? Don't be shy. There's no right answer. All right, it's about 3.5. Hopefully, they shoot for like a 3.7. I got into Maryland with a 2.7 GPA, and so a lot of people are wondering, how did he do it? 2.7 is, who did he bribe to get this? Who is he friends with, right? Nobody. What happened was, through my essays, through my application, they saw a certain theme, and that theme was my passion, and they saw how I chased my passion, and I got what I wanted, So I guess I can start with high school, right? I was a little sophomore kid, just walking around the halls, during lunchtime, I'm like, I'm not a senior, I can't walk across the street to McDonald's, the security guards won't let me. All I can do is walk around during lunch. I'm so bored, what is there to do? High school is so boring, there's nowhere to sleep during lunch, everybody's so loud, what can I do? So I'm walking down the halls, and I see these people gathering suspiciously in a classroom. I'm just like, what are they doing? I walk in there, right? And they're like, hey kid, you want to join a robotics team? I'm like, that sounds really fun, but you tell me to build a robot. I don't know the first thing. Heck, I can barely do my math homework. You're gonna tell me to build a robot? Trying to build like an Iron Man suit or something like that? So they're like, no. I went to all their meetings, and all they did was talk. Nothing happened. What was the biggest problem? They had no money. So sophomore year went by, nothing happened, they graduated. I got some friends together, okay? And we found a mentor, and they were like, hey, let's start a robotics team, right? The biggest problem was, again, no money. So from then on there, that mentor, he told me, hey Jeff, I want you to be, public relations. And I asked him, I said, what is public relations? I don't understand. What? They don't teach you that in school. They teach you math, they teach you chemistry. What is public relations? Well, long story short, we need money. How do I get money? I can barely get $5 from my dad. How do I get $10,000 for a robot? So he gave me a teacher from Poolsville High School. I went to Northwest. That teacher gave me the name of their head of public relations. Her name was Alice. And so I called Alice. Turns out I actually know Alice. It's a small world. I said, Alice, how do you get money? What is PR? How do you do public relations? She said, well, you know, you just go online to these company websites, Booz Allen Hamilton, you know, Deloitte, Lockheed Martin, and you just apply for the grants. You fill out the 20-page application and apply for the grants. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. I did all that. A few weeks later, after applying for like 20, 30, you thought college applications were hard, all right? Applying to get, you know, funding, that's crazy, you know. After a few weeks went by, nothing happened. Nothing. And so I'm sitting there, I'm just like, oh boy. But then what happened was, you know, this parent, you know, with their company donated money, you know, that parent, we had a bunch of fundraisers, everybody pulled in money, and we barely made it through the first year for the robotics team. But, you know, as a result of that, you know, because of the year-long tedious task, the students, you know, they were always complaining, you know, they don't know how to build a robot, all they do is cry, whine. When you get to college, you do that, nobody's gonna help you, man, you know? So what happened was, the parents built the robot for us. The teachers built the robot for us. Students had no say in anything. And I'm sitting there in the back on the meetings, I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm doing either. I'm now head of PR. I still don't know what I'm doing, right? And, you know, but then at the same time though, when I finally figured out, you know, what I was doing with PR, I realized it's not just about applying for through the company websites. Literally, I went to C2 Education for tutoring. I went to tutoring and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna try something else. I talked to the director there. I think her name's Julie. I was just like, hey Julie, I'm part of the Northwest High School robotics team and we're looking for sponsors. Do you guys want to sponsor us? She said, yeah, sure, okay. Come back tomorrow and I'll give you a check. I came back tomorrow, she gave me $300. The team fees were $80. I didn't have to pay anything. And so I did do something. I got them $300. But then throughout the year, because, you know, I was PR, and nobody understood, you know, what PR was, people kept making fun of me. People kept trying to tell me what to do. My dad was like, why are you wasting so much time doing robotics? You're not doing anything. You're not learning anything. Well, he's not wrong, because during my junior year, all I did was get them $300. Because every time I tried something else, nothing worked. But then I was so tired of people telling me what to do. I was so tired of listening to the parents argue with each other because I want my kid to do this, I want my kid to do that. I said, you know what? I'm gonna make my own team. I'm gonna start my own team. Right? So what I did was, the very next year, senior year, I broke off from the first team. The principal was pissed. She was just like, this is not gonna work. You know, the first team's already not stable. It might fail. They might not compete. And he's trying to make a second team. What is this kid trying to do, right? But you know what? I had an interest meeting. First interest meeting, nobody came. I was just like, man, I don't even have a team. I had one more interest meeting. 30 freshman kids came. And what did I do? I taught those kids, you know, the basic engineering, basic computer science that I had to learn first myself. They could have just Googled it, but you know, kids are lazy. You know, I went sponsor after sponsor, calling this person, calling that person, connection after connection. I said, I entered at an engineering firm, and I was like, yo, to my boss, I was like, hey, Mr. Bloom, I don't have sponsors, man. I'm struggling so hard. And he gave me a contact. I called that guy, talked to him for 5 minutes. I got $1,000 just like that. Dan Sources from I think he's located in Gettysburg or something, IT recruiting company. And from then on there, I finally figured out that maybe applying for funding or sponsors doesn't work. You have to, talk to people in real life. You have to call them. You gotta make that connection. And this is after 2 years of messing around. And after I got all the money for the team, after I taught them, I taught them how to use Google, the most amazing tool ever invented. They're gonna use it all throughout college, Google. They were on their own. But then I said to myself, can it stop here? What other problems do I see with this team? Well, the biggest problem is the teacher sponsored. My teacher doesn't have time. She doesn't get paid for this. Football coaches get paid. Soccer coaches get paid. But she doesn't get paid. Robotic coaches? So a few of my friends from Richmond, Montgomery, Poolsville, Blair, we got together. We all did robotics, and we all had the same problem. Teachers don't get paid. We got together, we went to the county council, we went to county SGA, we went to teachers union, and we made our case. If soccer and football coaches get paid, robotic coaches don't. Is the future of America sports or robotics? You tell me. So from then on there, that's what I put in my college essay. I said, I not only saw that this robotics club is not a club, it's a non-profit company through the school. I also went above and beyond and started lobbying. How many kids do you see run a non-profit company and also do government lobbying in high school? That's, it's all about selling yourself, and that's exactly what I wrote my college essay. And they saw that, okay, well, even though this kid has a GPA of 2.7, maybe he's going to be the next Bill Gates, we don't know. We're going to give it a try. Come on in, man. So, that's
Annie, what kind of values have you leveraged throughout your life to get you to where you are right now?
I would say part of being successful is being very flexible. You might think that you know exactly what you want to do, and someone might give you a script of what your life should look like. Like, I know that my parents want me to go to law school, right? And for some reason, what I want actually lines up with what they want. I do want to go to law school. But at the same time, you have to be very flexible. Like, how did I get there? So, like I said, I worked in a lot of nonprofits when I was in high school. I worked in a lot of conflict resolution nonprofits with war zones. And so I thought when I went to Georgetown, I kind of played with that. I wanted to do more public service, and so I got more involved in the Taiwanese American community, and then I did more public service with them, and then also with the Black Movement Dance Theater at Georgetown. And I never thought that I would do anything like named the Black Movement Dance Theater. And that was an organization that was geared towards African American women and their intersectionality of identities in the US. So I was very flexible with that, and that was something that was interesting to me, but I didn't know what was going on, and I decided to try it, and that led me to other things and more opportunities. And along the way in my academic life, I didn't know what I wanted to do either, so I ended up picking a math major, which was something that made my dad very happy, and I thought, what can I do with this math major except for go back into academics? And instead, right now, I'm doing national security consulting, which is something very different. Analytics is something very different than math, but you just have to be very flexible to new opportunities and very flexible to learn. Because everyone in this room is someone who's capable of learning new skills. And then along the way, as you evolve and you pick up new things, and then you leverage those skills that you've learned and other people have offered you to create your value.
The most important value that my dad has always taught me was to be honest. Is he here today? Bob? Okay, he's not here. But the most important thing he taught me was to be honest. He's a very hearted man. He's always telling me about the difficulties of serving in the military. When he was younger, I was just like, okay, yeah. But do everything with honesty and legitimacy, because that's the value he lived by. If you take a test, right, and you don't get a good grade on it, can you honestly say that you legitimately, honestly, truly spent a good amount of time preparing for this test, but even though you did spend a good amount of time preparing for it, and you still got a bad grade, so be it. But if you cannot, you are lying to yourself. You're not doing it right. And so applying for college is the same thing. Do you really want to go to that college? Have you done the proper research? That the college, and this is the same thing for any job interview, job search. I go to the University of Maryland right now, and believe it or not, there are a lot of graduate international students always asking me, for advice on how to find a job. I said, why? I'm only an undergraduate sophomore. I don't even have a job myself. How can you be asking me this? But then I tell them the same thing. do you really want this job? You know, maybe at Deloitte or something, you know? Did you do the proper research? You know, ask employees that are there what the company culture is like. Did you truly understand their mission and goal? And do you have the technical skills? And did you practice enough in the interview to get this job? And if you truly did spend that time getting it, and you know your weekends are not off, you know, playing around and partying, and you still didn't get it, then that's just really unfortunate. But if you told, that you just gotta be honest with yourself. You know, you have to spend the proper amount of time. You have to take the right steps. You have to ask the right questions. You know, if you need a mentor to help you, guide you through that, find a mentor. So honesty is the value that got me through most of this.
All right, so for both of you, why did you choose the school you are going to or went to?
I think that the first reason that I chose Georgetown was because I visited, and when you drive along M Street, it's very pretty and there's a lot of shopping. And that's really honestly what attracted me at first. And the student body is well put together. And it's nice there. But I think coming out of it, Georgetown has shaped me as a person, and I wouldn't be who I am if I hadn't gone to Georgetown. So I would say the reasons to go to Georgetown and the reasons why I'm grateful for getting that education is the student body not only learns in the classroom, but they enjoy learning all the time. And that might seem burdensome, but honestly, I think it's the greatest gift that I've received. So for example, a lot of times we'll go out at night and we'll come home and a bunch of my friends will just be in our apartment, and what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the readings we did in class, or politics, or current events, and I think that community that's really fostered my desire to continuously learn about everything around me is why I love Georgetown, and why I definitely would choose it again if I got the chance.
I go to the University of Maryland College Park. When I was applying for colleges, I actually was really lazy. I didn't even bother looking at any of the schools because my dad had already told me, Jeffrey, you're going to go to the University of Maryland, or the door's over there. And I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, well, I guess. So even though I had a 2.7 GPA and I had no morale whatsoever that I was going to get into College Park. In fact, I remember applying for college, I also did the application that was due at 12 o'clock midnight. I started one of the essays at like 11 o'clock p.m., 1 hour before that. I was in my sister's room, writing that, and then she was going to check it before I submitted it. But, throughout my entire life, my parents always told me what to do. They always chose everything for me. Do this, do that, study this, focus on math, focus on Chinese. No, you have to go to Chinese school. No, you can't quit. Yes, you have to learn how to read it. Yes, join Hwang too. Okay, everything. And I'm just like, okay. So they always chose everything for me, And so I only applied for the University of Maryland College Park before I even got whether or not I got in or not. I remember my mom was already telling my aunt, yeah, Jeffrey didn't get in. And I was just like, why you gotta be like that? I was very frustrated with my mom too. But while doing robotics around high school, my dad was always very, very against it, very angry because I had terrible grades. I spent all my time doing it, and I didn't bother spending any time on homework. They were, every single day my dad would call me. He'd be like, "What are you doing right now?" I'm like, "Bob, it's okay. I'm not at a friend's house. I'm not at a party. I'm at school. We're still working on, the robot." He's just like, "That's not good enough. I don't want you wasting your time on this." But I'm thinking to myself. I said, "Hey, I'm not partying. I'm not playing around. I'm doing robotics. What kind of parent doesn't want their kid to be doing this right now? But that's that. But then, later I realized the people that I worked closely with, they went to different schools. They went to Richmond, Montgomery, and Blair. And Poolsville, that even though we did the same exact things, my GPA was 2.7, their GPA was 3.7. And so even though I got into Maryland, they went on to MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and so on and so forth. So, you know, even though you gotta follow your passion, you gotta follow your dream, you gotta think outside the box, you still gotta focus on that GPA. If, you know, thinking about it, if I just had a 3.7, I could probably get a lot of scholarship from Maryland. And my dad would probably buy me a new car, and that'd be pretty great for Saturday nights, but it sucks.
So my last question is, you know, a lot of them are transitioning from high school to college, and it's very different, like, scene. What is your advice? Like, what are the strategies that you've like learned, like going to college, that helps you with that transition?
I think it comes down to two things. I think the first thing for me is you have to know what you want to do. So it has to come from your personal motivation. And that for me, in my sense, that looks like lists and pre-planned schedules, and this is what I have to do throughout the day, but it could look different for any of you. But that's one half of it, is to stay motivated and really know who you are and what you want to do. The other half, I would say that sometimes I regret back in college, but now I've learned throughout college and then today, is be close to your parents. I know that in high school is very difficult sometimes, but when you're in college, you really need them. Like, when you step out of that environment for the first time in your life, you might not even know it, but you're under a lot of emotional strain, I think. Just getting a lot of different information from the student body, from your teachers, from everyone. And your parents kind of become your confidants in a way where you can call them and tell them about your day and, you know, get their advice. And I know in high school it seemed like they were on another planet and they didn't know what they were talking about. But the more you grow up, the more you realize that their advice really touches your life and that it helps you. And even if it doesn't directly apply to you, because I know a lot of us are first generations and we're growing up in America while our parents grew up somewhere else. Even if it doesn't apply to you directly and they didn't have the exact same experience, they will always have at least words of comfort. And that is something very important on a big campus.
Yo, the transition to college is really hard. You gotta do your own laundry, food. You gotta think about food. You know, what am I gonna eat for dinner, man? Oh, I gotta walk like half a mile. If you go to Maryland, I gotta walk like half a mile just to get food. You know, there's a lot of things you gotta do on your own. You know, and you don't got your parents there for that. But the thing is, you know, my parents were always just like, yeah, you know, Jeff doesn't know how to do laundry. Jeff doesn't know how to. I'm just like, okay, fine, I'll learn it. It's not that hard. Everybody does laundry. If everybody can do it, I can do it too. And so, you know, it's all about your mindset. You know, you gotta, and believe it or not, college is still very, very simple and easy because your parents are still, well, for most people, their parents are still paying for everything. You know, when you finally get out there to the real world, you got no place to live, you got no food to eat, your debit card's zero, what are you gonna do? You know, and it's really unfortunate, but instead of, you know, preparing for college, what you should be getting ready for is preparing for, you know, life. And you're gonna realize that college is not about getting through the class and getting those grades. College is about getting a skill so that other people will hire you. You know, at high school, honestly, it was just show up and shut up. You get an A, okay? And, you know, why did I not get an A? Well, I didn't show up. But college, it's not, you want to show up. You want to be quiet, and you want to focus so that you're not passing the class, but you're gaining the skills you need for that job so you can move out, be independent, move far away from your parents and never see them again.